I want to take you back to the 10th of December 2015. You paddled out to the biggest wave you had ever seen at Pipeline, and in your words, you got this cracking wave straight off the boat. Can you explain the impact and what happened that day?
Yeah, so I was going for a world title, and I had a lot of confidence. And I was out I'd paddle out in the morning. It was the biggest waves at pipe I'd seen, that were contestable anyway.
How big were they?
15 feet for sure. It was
Wow.
really thick. The ocean was bigger itself. Like there was giant waves out in the ocean, but the ones that were hitting right were around 15. And I paddled straight out and straight into like the most riskiest area of the break to catch these waves. And I was deeper than anyone, so I caught an amazing one straight off. And so I had this confidence about me, like, I'm feeling pretty untouchable. Like I just took the most risk you could take, and it worked out. And so I go back out and I head kind of back to that same spot, and I just had a lapse of judgment. Instead of like this giant wave came, and it broke out beyond me, so it was breaking in front of me, and I had this option to you should have an option to either duck dive, which gets you about this far underwater, or bail your board, which you dive to the bottom and you go underneath the impact of the wave. And I just duck dived, so I was about this far underwater, and the wave just landed straight on top of me and just exploded me. And I ended up getting a severe concussion and a TBI from that wipeout. But I had enough of an adrenaline response in that moment to just keep me conscious enough to get to the beach.
Did you think something, like in your mind, because you've obviously had similar encounters before, did you think there was anything different about this one? Were you in more pain? Do you remember what it was like when it like brought you down?
Yeah, I was fighting for my life. I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this in the book, but I just kept repeating myself like, oh man, I got really wiped out, or, and I just couldn't stop saying it, like it was almost like stuck in my head. But yeah, like I was, even friends that seen me, they'll like look like I'd seen a ghost. And I've actually seen, I obviously I couldn't see myself, but I've actually seen someone in a similar situation at Chopu where they looked like the life had gone out of their faces, like they're just trying to like survive. Wow. But that's what it felt like for me, and that's what my friend said I looked like. And then I've seen that in someone else before, and it's a weird thing to see. It's like, wow, they're not there. They're just hanging on. So.
And then after that, where did you go?
Yeah, I just went back. I just got back to the house, and then as that adrenaline wore off, that's when I was like just going out to it. Just was losing. I was losing my words. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. It was just a really freaky time because that's when I was really like feeling the damage that had happened. Was like I couldn't move then. That was a still pretty scary moment. Still gives me chills up and back.
You say in the book, when I came to, as you mentioned, I could hardly move. I tried calling out, but my words were slurred. I'd been hammered in the surf. I was shaking uncontrollably, and I heard Mick say, "Hold on." The paramedics carried me out of the house on a stretcher towards an ambulance. As they did, I looked into the eyes of my friends and sister and saw fear. I started to convulse. Then, I've been told, my eyes rolled back in my head and I passed out.
Mm.
Did you know the extent? Did you fear that there was something more serious at play?
It was just panic and fear. Like I was fighting for my life in that time. Like it was touch and go, and I felt that like I just couldn't move, and I was like out of like body was shaking, convulsing, I was slurring, I couldn't like, you could imagine the panic that I was feeling there. And then, but yeah, that was a tough thing to feel, and it's still tough to talk about it. I feel my body tightening up thinking about it, but it's, looking back, everyone was just as scared as what I was, because I was in such a bad way that it was freaking them out. Like, I don't think they'd ever seen that, and I've never seen that, and I couldn't imagine them watching that, and like they would have just been freaked out. Like they wouldn't have known what was happening, let alone myself. I was living it. Yeah, it was a weird time.